I'm your host Enzo.
And I'm your co-host Joanna McDonald.
And today we're in St. Lazare to interview Linda Constant, who is the facilitator and team leader at La Terre de Epona. Welcome, Linda. Thank you for doing this interview.
Well, thank you. Welcome. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my passion.
It's our pleasure. So we're in a country setting away from the city in a sanctuary for horses, you could say. It's a place where you can come and learn about personal development, well-being, and surprisingly, leadership skills, all done with horses. So Linda, the name of the company or center, I guess you could say, is La Terre de Epona, which basically translates as the land of Epona.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us what Epona is or was, and why you chose it? What's the significance of that name?
Well, Epona was a Celtic goddess, protector of horses, ponies, mules, and donkeys, and their owners.
Makes sense.
Yes. So she's the most well-known goddess, and horses were part of her. She's always being shown either standing beside a horse or beside a horse in foals, because she was also the goddess of fertility, or she's being shown riding a side saddle on a horse. But the word Epona has been used a lot in the equestrian these days.
And can you tell us a little bit, we were talking before in your magical land here, wish you guys could see it, it's a really, really beautiful sanctuary. It's clear that you're very intuitive, of course, with your horses and that. Can you share with us how you source your gift? Like, where does it come from? And do you have a ritual to connect with your own gifts and then the horses after that?
Well, yes, I do. Actually, my ritual is very simple. I like to meditate every morning when I can, but really to connect with my source of inspiration before I do a session is just to go and share territory with my horses. Just being with them. Yes, sometimes I'm going to brush them, but I'm going to brush them mindfully.
Yeah.
Mindfully, like really being in the moment with them. And then I get in touch with that source of inspiration, and sometimes that gave the note to what I might be doing. I know in advance which exercise we'll be doing because I receive the objective from my clients. But also I rely a lot on my horses to adjust if needed. So sometimes I do have a plan, but I'm very flexible because sometimes horses have a different agenda. And it always happens that it's really what my client needed. So I really trust that.
And your horses, I know you were saying before that some of them are family members, so do they work independently of each other, or do you find that they work more as a network, as a group energy?
It depends on what we're working at. Like if we do, like let's say an intuitive session, we're going to be working with the whole herd. But if somebody's objective is about, setting up boundaries with a member, let's say a colleague who's a more, let's say, challenging or dominant side, and the person, let's say, is more sensitive. Well, I'm gonna choose the horse that's the more dominant. Well, sometimes not the more dominant because it could discourage the person. So I'm going to adjust depending, because horses have their own personality. And so I'm going to decide which horse is the best for the client's objective.
Great.
But sometimes I do let the client choose instinctively which horse, depending on the subject.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So you mentioned workshops and one-to-ones, I believe. So your work is with individuals and in groups. Could you tell us what kind of groups you work with?
I just started this year to host groups, not many because it's more difficult for me. First, sometimes you need more time to have individual go one-on-one with a horse. I do a session with 2 people at a time at the same time where we have lunch with the herd, and they each have, we do an exercise with the herd, both the 2 people together, and then in the afternoon they work each with 1 horse on their specific objective. But I do have planned to organize bigger group, especially in the leadership sessions.
So probably corporate work with corporations?
Yes, that's on my plan. Yeah, my plan to develop leadership and to use power in a different way, which is in what we'll be learning here is in the way of the horse's way.
A more holistic approach.
Exactly. Yeah, I call it authentic leadership.
Oh.
Yes.
And what would you say to people who are really new to this? For me, I would say I'm probably a prime example that I don't normally spend a lot of time with horses. What would you say to people who are brand new to this and perhaps are digesting the concept of this? What would you say to them who are maybe having trouble believing in what you do?
I would say that psychologists in the 1990s had determined that human communication, that it's only 10% verbal. The rest 90% is nonverbal. And we live in the world that words are like, we're obsessed with words. And we kind of forgot that body language. And body language is a universal language.
And sometimes words means different things to different people.
Yes, and also you could say something and mean total opposite.
Yes.
So words are only 10%. And especially in relationship, emotional intelligence, social intelligence, a lot is that 90%. And where do you go to learn that, to practice that? Horses are master at telling you.
You come here.
Yes, they're master because they're so sensitive. They know. They know if your blood pressure have changed. Okay, because that's how sensitive they are. If you can fool a human and say, oh, I'm not afraid of this, but you cannot fool a horse. They'll know. So they feel your emotion, and that's why in order to connect with a horse at liberty, meaning with no tack, no rope, and the horse follows your suggestion, okay, let's say in the leadership session, you need to be really connect in the moment and be authentic.
So let's presume the person is nervous with the horse. Will the horse sense that and not react to the nervousness, but react to the authenticity or the goal of the person?
Yeah, well, let's say somebody come and has a lot of anger or trying to control, the horse won't want to connect. If somebody is nervous, they might come, but they might tell them maybe try to go into their space or something like that. Not being meanful, but the horse always, the reaction of the horse always telling you something about you, something we have to work on. So maybe is, well, claim out your space. Go inside you. If you feel you're nervous, there's something, that's your GPS, an internal GPS. Okay, so something, when you're nervous or even when you're angry, it's often mean that one of your boundary have been crossed. And you can feel it by an emotion, or sometimes not by an emotion, but a sensation in your body. So if we listen to that in advance, we're able to put our boundaries and be respected. But most people wait, and then it's more difficult. The same thing with the horse. If the horse approaching them and they feel that they don't feel secure, and to put a boundary with a horse won't attack you, they're prey animals. So you just have to do jumping jack, or just with a stick that is the extension of your arm, and just claim your space. This is my space. This is my space with no emotion involved. They're gonna respect that.
So you're saying they understand boundaries?
They understand boundaries. They have clear communication. So in a herd, everybody knows where they stand. Everybody knows who's the alpha, who's the second, who's the third. Everybody has their own job. Without ego. Yes, and that's why we should, take advantage of learning from them. A leadership role could be leader of our life or leader as a parent. We learn, tons of things. You learn with horses and practicing with those exercises. Where are your weaknesses? What is it you have to work inside you in order to be a better parent, to be, in better relationship,
Better boss.
to use, also to express yourself, to have more confidence, and to use and to develop that inner power that's inside all of us, without necessarily have to wait and then use that power, put your boundary in a reactive way. Yes.
That brings me to a question. So when, let's say you do have a client in front of you, you're working with a client and a horse, is it you that interprets the horse's messages for the client, or is it them that discovers the messages? Like, what is the process that you take your clients through in order to understand the horse wisdom, I guess, if you will?
Yeah, that's a good question. And this is a reason I chose Linda Conaha program, because it's a non-directive program. So I'm not there to tell the person this or that, or they discover on their own. So I'm only a facilitator with the horse. The horse hack in equine facilitated, which is different than equine assisted. When you talk about equine facilitated wellness, the horse acts as co-facilitator. So their reaction bring a lot of information to my client. And that's why it is crucial that the horse is at liberty, meaning, like I say, no tack. So the horse have the freedom to leave if he feel that his boundary have been crossed. We receive a lot of information. If the horse would be restrained, we don't have that information that comes from the horse. And of course, I'm going to ask questions, but the client discover on their own pattern. And that's the magic about that. It's done in a non-judgmental way, and because horses are non-judgmental, and yes.
No ego.
So Linda, can you tell us a little bit about a time where you had a breakthrough with a client and how a horse was involved, and is there something that comes to your mind which was very beneficial for both horse and client?
A young girl who came here, she was in her 30s. It was actually a gift she received from a friend to come and have a session here. And a few months before that, she had lost her boyfriend. He died of a heart attack in front of her in their apartment. So she came here. She didn't have specific objective, but I knew that she had lost her boyfriend. So I decided we would just go and do an intuitive session in the back with the herd. So when I go in the back with the horse, I call them and they come with me at liberty. They come with me, and then I ask my client to follow about 20 feet in the back, because in a herd interaction you have to be the leader and knowing what's going to happen, and it's for safety issue. Always has a client to follow in the back and to put boundaries if the horse come to them until I'm there. So she was following, and then all my horses came. Red was a little slow to come, and he came, and I was observing, and he decided to go and towards my client. And Red is a very gentle horse, and he's not very spooky, so I just watched.
Is Red the oldest horse?
No, Red,
Okay.
no, he's not the oldest. He's the horse I used to do dressage with
Okay.
at a lower level, but I was doing dressage. So Red started making a circle around my client, and she
Wow.
stopped. And I said, oh my gosh, that's hot. So he would do a circle, and I asked my client, are you okay with that? She said yes. And he was like, the circle was about a 20-meter circle, so he was not too close to her. And I said, that's strange, because Red doesn't offer thing like that. You know, like a horse like Davina, she likes to play, she's very athletic, and she has that kind of personality. But Red, the less you do, you know, like people, like I always say, and I told my client after, you know, like because he did that, and I said, well, I want to tell you something. There's something for you in here. I just want to let you know that Red don't usually offer something like that. And he did about 4 circles around her, walking.
Trying to make a statement.
Yes, and I said, if Red was a human, okay, that's what he thinks of sport. He likes sport, sitting down on his couch, watching football on the TV and having a beer. So he doesn't do that. And then her face turned white. And she looked at me and she said, my boyfriend was like that. He loved football, sitting on the couch and drinking a beer. He was not, you know, like,
Sports.
yes.
That's
So
incredible.
that was really, and then after when she left, I said, well, there was a message for you. And I said, maybe you'll find out what was the message for you. And she said, I know the message. He told me that he was there to protect me, and he will always
Wow.
be there to protect me.
Wow.
So-
Incredible.
Yes.
That's such a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
So it's quite transformative for the client, obviously, but how do you feel after a session?
Well, you know, it really nourished me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it nourished me, and then it makes me even more believe that horses, you know, horses been around people for millions of years. You know, like you see, you know,
Cave
drawing.
drawings, yeah.
Yes, exactly, and they're still here,
Yeah.
and they never extinct. And they were there, and they're, you know, there's an evolution of the humanity. So they were always there for human. You know, they were there for transportation, war, building, construction,
Yes.
agriculture, then for sports. But now, for people who are open to that approach of, you know, nonverbal communication, energetic, getting in tune with their instinct, intuitive instinct, and all that. That's the new mission for horses. Horses are, I would say, the door between the two worlds. That's how I would express
Wow.
that.
Nice way to put it.
Because I can't help but feeling when I'm here a big sense of oneness. It's almost like, you know, that we're all connected, and that the horses and everybody works together, but it also helps you do your individual work as well. So it's sort of like two sides of it.
I just wanted to share something that we said off camera. Joanna already feels the presence of the horses inside. Could you tell us a bit about that? I'm curious.
I don't quite know how to describe it, except for Linda, when we were deciding where to do the shoot, she said, okay, well, I think we're going to be inside today, and I can't help but feel that all of the horses are lending their energy to be here with us. I feel like it's a real communion of spirit, and that there's a message, obviously, for all 3 of us that are sitting here, but also for all of you out there that are watching. That it's just a magical place to be.
Yeah, and horses help us in our inner purpose and our outer purpose, because you know, being spiritual is not just about working on ourselves, but it's actually creating something on this planet, and they help us, and they help us be our true self and go and follow our passion, and that's where the leadership session with horses are amazing, because they're going to tell you exactly what you need to know in order to live the life you want, or to be in good relationship, like I say, as a teacher. How do you deal with bullies, and in a non predatory way, and just being a mature dominant versus
Yes.
an immature dominant.
I love that expression, by the way, mature. I've read some of your material, and I clearly see how we can change and how we can utilize what horses teach us in our daily
Yes,
life.
it's just about claiming our space, and that's what it is. Boundary, claiming our space, claiming you can talk about our value. We could talk about what we like, what we don't like. We could talk boundaries about your boundary, about your ideas, about your emotion, also about your material. Boundaries. It's like it's huge. Yes.
I think gone are the days where it's, master and pet or master and animal. Now it's so much more, this is the frontier we're entering in. Would you say, Linda, that animals are here obviously to help us, but it's more of on an
Companion.
equal, exactly, playing field, where it's not so much us telling them what to do or how to help us. It's really working in concert with them and the messages that they have for us, which is pretty fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Linda, in your working with horses and using intuition with them, both yourself and feeling it from them, how has it changed your life and your relationships with people?
They've been my therapists, and I would say they all brought something for me to work on, but I would say the one who helped me the most with one of my big challenge was Davina, my huge gray mare that you've seen. I really just had to claim my space. That's all I had to do to have respect from her. And now she is the one who, like, my relationship with Davina is fantastic.
So Linda, is there anything else that you wish to add that maybe we didn't cover?
I'm working in collaboration with a coach in leadership. There's a few, but my goal is really to bring people together and to work together. And my ultimate dream would be to have a center here, like, a mini Omega
Wow.
center,
Wow.
and to bring holistic people, a naturopath or yoga teacher, and organize with corporation leadership workshop, or even healing workshop for women, where they would have yoga with a yoga instructor, and
Great idea.
yes, and bring people together and do a session with horses, and perhaps go in the forest and do a conscious walk. So
We're all here to support you.
Yes.
The call just went out to everybody, so we're here to support you. So if people wanted to reach you, how can they reach you today?
they can reach me either with my phone number at 514-347-5021, or on my Facebook page, which is La Terre d'Epona, or by email, Linda, Lynda, at jjpconsultants.com.
Excellent. So thank you so much. This was so enlightening, so refreshing to be here, talk to you, learn about these new modalities that are coming out, and it was a sheer pleasure.
Thank you, Linda.
Well, thank you. Thank you, both of you, for making me feel more comfortable.
And of course, Linda works in French as well, French and English. Wanted to thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.